before we get started, let's check out the links in my description. We all want nice things. We want the car, we want a house, we want a high limit credit card. But if you don't have at least a 680 credit score, you're not even in the game. So click this link here to know where you stand and get your free credit scores from all three bureaus. That will be Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And also get your reports. If you would like to be free and become financially independent through entrepreneurship, click this link here to be free. If you'd like to get cash back, which is a discount during shopping, please click this link here to see my favorite cashback sites. And if you enjoy the music you hear in the background, please click the link here and subscribe to It's Oasis. Hello everyone, welcome back to Community Wealth. We're back with some more information on the PPP. Here's an update. It's on the forgiveness of the PPP, and it's another debacle, to be honest with you. It's nothing good, and it may affect you. Okay? But this is the reason why I say get your credit together, get your personal profile together. And that way you can qualify for your financial institution's products, banks, credit unions, whatever, credit cards. So click the credit monitoring link in the description below so you can get your scores for all three credit bureaus, the big three, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, so you know where you stand. You can also get your report so you know where you're at and how to dispute it. And if you want to know how to dispute things on your credit report, just go to the Do-It-Yourself Credit Repair playlist. Go to my Do-It-Yourself Credit Repair playlist. All right, but in order for you to do that, you must get your credit reports and your scores. So click the credit monitoring link in the description below so you can get all three scores from all three bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, including the reports. Okay. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into this. All right. Here's the story. Banks are reversing course on PPP loans to small business owners. 4 small business owners said they have been notified by their lenders that they shouldn't have received the amount they were approved for. For 24 years, Erica Gray has owned her own mediation and arbitration business in Arlington, Massachusetts, helping organizations navigate workplace disputes. But when the COVID-19 pandemic began, her income completely dried up. I had no business, nothing for a number of months, she said. Everybody was otherwise occupied. Her bank, Citizens Bank, kept sending her emails prompting her to apply for a loan from the Paycheck Protection Program, which Congress passed early in 2020 to issue relief money to small business owners in order to keep workers employed and companies from shuttering. If used mostly on payroll, with a small portion on other expenses like rent or equipment, they would be entirely forgiven. Otherwise, they'd be covered to loans with 1% interest, which is not bad. 1% interest is great. It's not too many places you're going to find 1% interest, okay? But Gray found the application difficult to parse as a sole proprietor. I had no idea what to ask for, she said, so someone from her bank walked her through it and told her what she was eligible to receive. The bank wanted her full 2019 tax return to determine eligibility, which she provided. Now, back then it was a little difficult. I didn't know much about it back then either in 2020. I basically got involved this year in 2021 through Womply. I tried some other ones, as you know, if you've been following me. I tried some other ones, but Womply was by far the easiest, and it kind of like told you what you're going to get right away. In May 2020, Citizens approved her for a $5,800 PPP loan. Pretty small. I think mine was just under $5,000 personally, and I got 2. It wasn't a huge sum compared to the multi-million-dollar loans some corporations received, obviously, but Gray had enough income to pay her mortgage and cover her health care costs. But in May 2021, Gray received a shocking email from Citizens explaining that no, she shouldn't have received $5,800. Could you imagine that? Could you just imagine your lender, just imagine through Womply when the lenders start emailing you, yeah, you shouldn't have got that money, all right? Instead, a bank representative later told her on the phone she was in fact only eligible for $3,837. The difference won't be forgiven and she had to pay it back. Citizens did not respond to a request for comment. Gray is not the only person whose bank has reversed its stance on how much PPP money they should be eligible for and demanded repayment. 3 other small business owners told The Intercept they have similarly been notified by their different lenders that they shouldn't have received the amount they were approved for and that they'll have to pay back the difference. The loans are all under $10,000, a tiny slice of the $800 billion program. The amount is so small, I'm surprised the banks would even do anything with that, said Daryl McLendon, managing director of finance and accounting firm TMG Consulting, who has been focused on helping clients navigate PPP loans. A $5,000 PPP loan is like rounding error. Hold on. A $5,000 PPP loan is like a rounding error, he said. Over 85% of PPP loans were for under $50,000. Loans over $1 million made up just 0.4% of the total. But having to pay the money back would be a hardship for these small business owners who are still trying to climb their way out of a deep financial hole. So check this out. The calculation said you were to get, let's just say, $5,000. But when it comes down for forgiveness, you're trying to tell me I only qualify for $3,000? Why are you telling me now? Right? After Gray was repeatedly unable to submit her forgiveness application earlier this year, she threatened to sit in the Citizens Bank corporate office until someone talked to her. Eventually, she got through, only to be told she now owes nearly $2,000. Man, that's crazy. Gray's bank is demanding she provide a payroll report and evidence of employer-provided health care, but she doesn't have payroll since she's the only employee. She went on Medicare 2 years ago, so can't provide that documentation either. She's also being told rent on her home office is not allowed. That's wild. So now you're telling when it's time to do that forgiveness, huh? Yeah, okay. Sounds fishy to me. $2,000 would seem to be pennies for a bank like Citizens, and while Congress never followed through on the demand to automatically forgive loans under $150,000, the Small Business Administration, the agency responsible for administering the PPP, did simplify the process for loans under that amount, allowing business owners to fill out a one-page form and simply attest they comply with the requirements. Remember, I was doing videos about how simple it is now? Owing $2,000 is no small thing for Gray. She is disabled and on a fixed income. After a spurt of business in the last half of 2020, it's all dried up again. She thinks she'll probably have to close her business entirely within the next 6 months. The only means she has to pay the money back is a small inheritance left to her after her mother died last July. She's not the type to cry or give up in frustration, she said, but she's found herself in helpless tears. Had she known her bank might turn around and refuse to forgive her full loan, I wouldn't have taken it, she said. In emails sent to business owners and reviewed by The Intercept, 2 of the banks say they are responding to new guidance released earlier this year by the SBA. But while experts acknowledge the SBA has released a lot of updated guidance over the last year, it's unclear what specifically banks are referring to. Jeanette Quick, head of compliance and public policy at payroll company Gusto, has heard from small businesses and lenders that the SBA is returning forgiveness applications submitted by banks based on new parameters for what the maximum loan amount should have been. Although there is no systematic tracking for how many business owners this issue is affecting. In an attempt to ferret out fraud, it has created the potential to have swung too far the other way, she said, and cracked down on legitimate businesses who receive legitimate loans. The SBA declined to comment for this story, and the Treasury Department didn't respond to a request for comment. I am aware of the circumstances facing these small business owners and am monitoring the situation closely, Rep. Nydia Velasquez, who is chair of the House Committee on Small Business, told The Intercept in response to this story. This pandemic has devastated small firms across the country, especially the smallest of small business, and they can't afford surprise bills now as they are beginning to recover. My staff and I are engaging with the SBA on this issue and working to ensure that small businesses are protected. Even if SBA guidance has changed, the banks vetted the applications and issued the loans. If there was a problem with the original application, why did they give it to them in the first place? McClendon asks. And that's my thing. Why are you telling me now? You knew this a while ago. You the one that processed everything and got it approved. So what the heck are you talking about? It's just weird. It's just weird. No matter what's going on, it may feel like a bait and switch. Businesses were urged to secure PPP loans and assured by the SBA lenders and Congress that they will be forgiven if used correctly, Quick noted. It feels a little bit like they're changing the rules of the game as the game is going along, she said. It is very unfair, and yes, that's what it sounds like to me as well. Sounds like when it's time to forgive, they don't want to forgive. All right, they want to get some of that money back. That's what it sounds like to me. And they're picking on the small businesses because small businesses probably don't have the backing that these large corporations and these bigger businesses have that's making millions of dollars. They don't have that small back like me, myself. Yeah, I got an attorney, but I don't have, I ain't going to get into all that right now. But I'm just saying smaller businesses don't have the same backing. They don't have the same representation. So it'd be kind of hard to navigate through this whole thing and they're just going to up and pay. That's about it. Gray agrees. They're spending a ton of money to try to claw back tiny amounts of money from people who desperately need it, she said. In May, Edgar Camelas received an email from his lender, Bank of America. On January 15, 2021, the Small Business Administration, SBA, issued guidance stating a borrower may not receive Paycheck Protection Program loan forgiveness for any amount that exceeds the correct maximum loan amount under the CARES Act and Economic Aid Act. It said, based on SBA rules and the documentation you provided in your original application, your maximum loan amount and therefore the maximum amount of forgiveness you can receive is less than the funding you received in connection with your first PPP loan. In other words, he wasn't going to get his entire PPP loan converted into a grant. I was worried and started panicking, Camelas said. Camelas, who owns an events company in Orlando, Florida, had applied the very first day Bank of America's PPP portal opened up, providing his 940 and 941 tax documents, his profit and loss statements, his balance sheet. Anything they requested, we put in the system, he said. After his application was approved and he had received a PPP loan of $5,494, Camelas assumed the only thing he had to do to get the loan forgiven would be to spend the money correctly. He documented his expenses meticulously and submitted it when he sought forgiveness. But now his bank is saying he has to pay back $3,281. The problem, he's been told, is that while his income is seasonal, big business in the winter that slows down in the summer, he has to find a way to prove it. He's stuck in a game of telephone between Bank of America and the SBA, trying to get an answer from someone. He feels like he's on a conveyor belt, he said. There are so many of these loans. It's bulk manufacturing, he said. Individuals are not being assessed. The money he owes will be converted into a loan, but Camelas doesn't want the debt. Thanks to a return of some of his business, he'll be able to pay it back, but it'll come at a cost. He won't be able to invest in new equipment, more full-time staff, or marketing efforts to bring in new customers. The people who are paying for it are not the banks, not the SBA, he said. It's the real small businesses who are going to be hurt. In response to a request for comment, Bank of America spokesperson Bill Howden said, in the forgiveness process, we are required to follow the Small Business Administration's rules and guidance. Wow, this is some more stuff. This is quite long. I didn't think it's going to be this long. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish this up. Laura Zimberg has been self-employed as a massage therapist in Buffalo, New York since 2005. In early 2019, she decided to expand and secure her own massage spaces, which meant spending money on building them out. After her state shut down in early 2020, she got a $10,000 PPP loan from Bank of America that allowed her to not just cover her own income, but also pay rent for her 2 locations. But in February, when her bank opened up its forgiveness portal, she couldn't complete the application. Weeks later, when she was finally able to reach someone at the bank, she was told that she wasn't eligible for any PPP money because line 31 of her 2019 Schedule C tax return was negative. And in fact, of having spent money to expand her business, such an issue had never been raised when she was applying, she said. All the time, I was being reassured that don't worry about it. If you use it right, you'll be forgiven, she said. Now the SBA is saying, no, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. Okay. So, she put it off. She got the money. 'Cause I remember that. It was First, you can do it, but then you couldn't because the line 31. Then they changed to line 7. So I don't know what's going on right now. It's kind of weird. You will never know what the SBA is going to say. And I believe this was all in 2020. So all these people were talking about back in 2020. I'm not saying it's not going to happen in 2021. Well, for the people who applied in 2021, I'm not saying it's not going to happen to you because it could. You know, the SBA be tripping. But as you see, most of this stuff is from 2020. All right. So still keep your eyes open. Be aware of what can happen to you. All right. Because everything is tricky. Like they say, they change the rules as they go along. All right. Okay, so she's not sure how she'll pay the $10,000 back. It's devastating. She said most of her clients still haven't returned out of fear of getting COVID-19. In the end, quick notice, small businesses will be left holding the bag, and many, if not most, are not fully recovered from the pandemic. It's just another economic shock to the system. That may not just impact them now as they try to recover from the pandemic. In the longer term, quick fears it'll create distrust in the system. Yeah, I'm sure of that because people don't even trust it now. Especially for women and minority-owned businesses that sought government loans for the first time. This only worsens mistrust and creates a further divide for access to capital, she said. The experience with his PPP loan is one big reason why Jesse Grun had decided to give up altogether. He's owned a small personal training studio in Orlando, Florida since 2014. He decided to close his doors voluntarily at the onset of COVID-19 because he didn't have the space to keep clients safe. He moved what he could online but still experienced a big loss of revenue, and his landlord refused to work with him on rent payments. When he first applied for a PPP loan through PNC Bank by uploading his 2019 tax return, he was told he was only approved for $917. But when he contacted a vice president at the bank, she asked for additional documentation, and he sent over his lease outlining his rent. She said she had what she needed to move his application forward, and he received $5,000. He quickly spent the allowable amount on payroll and rent. Then in April, he got an email from PNC similar to the one Camillus received from Bank of America, citing new SBA guidelines from January. After a careful review of your original PPP loan file and associated submitted documents, we have discovered possible discrepancies that need to be resolved to allow for full forgiveness of your loan, it said. It said his correct maximum loan amount was just $917, not the $5,000 it had given him. Unfortunately, the excess loan amount is not eligible for forgiveness and must be repaid, along with interest. PNC did not respond to a request for comment. So it sounded like to me, from an earlier video I did, it sounded like to me, when he came to them and said, hey, I need more than $917, they said, okay, cool, we're going to give you $5,000 because remember, they're getting more money for bigger loans. All right. So they went ahead and gave him the $5,000. They don't even worry about it. But then when it's time for forgiveness, they say, oh, we only can forgive $917. You got to pay that other $4. All right. I had done everything they asked me to do, he said. I felt very abandoned. His business is still far below what it was in 2019, and he's still losing clients due to job losses. So he's decided to start graduate school next month. He's not sure what he'll do with the gym, but he is sure about one thing. I've decided I'm done with small business ownership. No, I don't think that's the right attitude, but I mean, you know, if that's what you feel, that's what you feel. Some people figure it's better to go get a job and, you know, whatever. That's how you feel. It's cool. But I think you just have to, you know, restructure things and move forward, or it might have to just do a shift, you know, but, you know, to each his own. So that's where I'm going with that. It's kind of like this. But the PPP, it's a big old debacle happening right now. Just news stories, different experiences are coming out about how people got played or I got bent over, or however you want to say it. They basically got duped. Right? Not saying that PPP is all a bad thing. Here's what you do though. Myself and other people, what they did was they took the funds, used it how it's supposed to, and then they went in and grew in other areas. All right. Us this year, we could use 100% of it for payroll. Okay. So as a 1099 Schedule C person, we were able to move the money full payroll to ourselves, okay? But after we did that, I went and reinvested it into other things for my business. So I was able to grow, okay? And also, another thing I did, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I also worked on my credit profile. And that way I have access to other financial products from my financial institutions. Different credit card companies like Capital One that do auto loans and things like that. So remember, I got a $63,000 auto loan from Capital One. And then I was able to get a loan from my bank to do what I did just recently, which is now $24,000 loan added to my credit profile. Okay. So now I got $63,000 here that was approved for, and I got $24,000 over here. And also remember, I got my credit line doubled on my credit card. So I got that. And I'm going to start dipping into business credit soon as well. And you could do that with a 680 credit score or higher. You don't even necessarily need a 680, but 680 is where life begins. Seriously. I don't have a 680 right now. I'm just below a 680, but I know, all right? But my credit profile looks good. So that's why I'm able to do things. If your credit profile looks good and you're like a 660, 665 to 679, you can do a lot of things. But once you hit that 680 plus your credit profile is great, you'll be able to do astronomical things. Okay. And that's why you have to focus on your credit. And you can start by clicking the credit monitoring link in the description below. Get your scores, all three. Get your 3 reports from all 3, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. You will know what you need to dispute. And you can dispute by going to the do-it-yourself credit repair playlist, and you can see how I dispute these things off my credit reports. All right. So go to the credit monitoring link in the description below, sign up, get all 3 scores, all 3 reports from all 3 bureaus. All right. And to get away from all this, you can also get some more money by clicking the Wealth Dash link in the description below. You can make $500 to $1,000 per week. All right. And if you don't have a car, or if you don't want to use your vehicle, you can click the Wealth Hire Car link in the description below, and you can still make $500 to $1,000 plus per week. That's anywhere between $2,000 to $4,000 a month. All right, and you will be able to handle that PPP. You'll be able to handle, whatever you need to handle. You won't be getting put out. All right. And also, if you want to get cash back on items, once you start making some money, you can check out my cashback sites by clicking the cashback link in the description below. And if you want to know how I got 5 properties for $5,500, you can check out the Be Free link in the description below. Subscribe to It's Oasis, like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, until the next video, let's get this money.